zero going up. Hey, everybody, welcome to No Bull Logistics, KNOW Bull. And there's nobody who knows Bull better than Brian Blalock.
That sounds a bit like a setup, Mike.
It's a little bit about the set. It takes one to know one, right? And you may have been mistaken as a bull once or twice.
That is absolutely true,
dude. I'm digging your digital background. Did you pay extra for that upgrade for your digital background for you?
This is how digital my background is.
That is fantastic. Look at it. It's realistic. Unbelievable.
It almost looks real. You know, the funny thing is I had a meeting earlier today and no one was on camera. And so I took myself off because I said, my wife frequently says that I sound like AI. And so I wanted to prove that I was not actually AI. And I think that I did, because who would do this, right? I don't think anyone would intentionally make this the visual on their AI.
Unless they were intentionally trying to prove that they weren't AI.
Oh, could be.
Yeah. See what I did there? Take it a little.
We may be on to something. Yeah. And then there's also the problem of me needing to be factually accurate. And I think AI probably hits that a little bit more than I do, but we do our best, right?
At times, though, I'm going to tell you, I was on a podcast like maybe 3-4 months ago. Wasn't that long ago, 3-4 months ago. And AI told us during that podcast that the Texas Rangers had never won a World Series. This is 3 months ago. And I distinctly remember them winning one just like a year ago.
Yeah, that might be just slightly outdated.
It might not be accurate.
Oh, man, that seems like that's a rough fact check to get hit on 1 year later, right?
I'm telling you. I mean, because they only updated a certain amount of time. I don't know what it was. There's some type of BS excuse about it, but I'm like, okay, so if it's not real time, what's I don't know. Are you guys AI? Are you guys AI powered?
We're starting to have a little bit of AI. We usually try to think about all the tasks that nobody wants to do. Little menial stuff. And it's funny. I was just told, by the way, Mike, that I'm going to be talking about AI at a freight summit in about 30 days, which means that I should probably learn something about it between now and then. But I can tell you,
AI stands for artificial intelligence, and so you don't have to look.
Let me just get a note of that right now. That'll help in my next speech. So.
You could just do a speech of how everybody now puts AI at the end of their stuff or powered by AI, and they don't even know how to spell AI.
Yeah, I thought it was like
90% of them are totally baloney. It's like, oh, look, our bill of ladings are digital now. You mean you do them on a computer?
What were you doing them on before?
Yeah, what were you doing them on since 1985?
Very, very true. So to our originally, as best I understand where we're going now, we are in our menial tasks, the things that we would rather a human be able to go do the places where humans have to communicate with each other. Yeah, but if you could certainly let there be a whole list of crap that no one really wants to do, that AI can do really well, those are the things we want to hand over. And I would like for it to follow me home, so when I get there, AI could bring me the remote control and maybe a beverage and a few other things. But I don't know that I've gotten it quite.
Well, that's why you have kids. That's why you have kids, dude.
Yeah. Well, now my kid is grown. And once they get grown, you have to make a phone call to ask them to come over to your house to do that.
Oh, okay.
So that whole AI thing goes out the window.
It does.
I'm already way past that era.
Yeah, and you move to a condo so you don't have to cut the grass anymore.
Exactly. And if you were to see my backyard, you would know how true that point is, because that link that you just saw me go prove that this wasn't a fake background is the exact width of my backyard. So, and I know that on my association fees every month, I get a little charge for lawn care, which means someone did this, and then they left, and I got charged $50 for it.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure out how that's accurate. Like, what happened in this world?
You are in the land of gated HOAs, aren't you?
I really am. And I think I may have shared with you, but I've actually relocated. And if anyone hears this on this call, don't judge. I have relocated to Sun City Center, which means I am on the low end of the age bracket in my new community after being on the high end of it everywhere else I've lived.
Is that like the Village's Light?
It is like the Village's Light.
Okay.
You must own a golf cart to be able to successfully migrate your way around town. And and just
are there tryouts for the pickleball team?
There are tryouts. I won't tell you that I may not make the team because I've seen some of them and they're pretty good. They got some moves. Now, if you can get them to take more than one step and the hip goes out of joint, then you may have a chance in the game. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Dinner closes at about 4:00, so you got to make sure you're in early. On the weekends, if it's dark, you're one of the cool kids who's way too late. So, yeah.
Do any of the units have the air conditioning, or do they pretend?
Well, they own it, but they're all turned off. I mean,
they're all turned off,
right? It's freezing in here, honey. As you walk in and you've got sweat just dripping off every part of you. That's Sun City, and to be fair, I kind of like it a little bit. I've got my 4 or 5 little restaurants, and I feel like the episode of Seinfeld where Kramer moved down to Del Boca Vista.
Del Boca Vista.
Yeah, you got it. He's the ping pong king of Del Boca Vista.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to work on that pickleball game, Mike, because I want to be the pickleball king of Sun City Center.
Yeah, they were setting up Morty to be. He was going to be puppet regime, right?
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
Willard, when he handed out the Willards to everybody. Yeah. This isn't a wizard.
Didn't he get ran out of town?
$5 tip for a BLT. I'm broke.
I love that. That would be my high-tech calculating instrument for tips that I have right here. This is my tip calculator.
That's awesome.
In the old days, I'd spend a good 10, 15 minutes doing that on my hands, and every now and then taking my shoes off so I could include my toes. So Mike, I guess in the real grand scheme of things, we're going to talk logistics a little bit. And I've enjoyed some of the maybe a little bit. Right. I always say logistics is an easy conversation because you can kind of tie everything to it, right? All the crap on every wall around us got here on a truck somehow or got somewhere on a truck. So there's that. And I think it's interesting, and I appreciate you letting me come on and annoy you.
Absolutely, bro.
On your podcast. I'm excited to sneak you into mine. And I'll tell you that.
Do you fly me down to Florida for a week to do the whole thing? Do I stay at like the hotel there in St. Pete on the beach and
put you in the finest accommodations in Sun City Center, and you can ride over with me?
Yeah, I love it.
But not the worst place in the world to have to be. It's funny, we've got offices all over the country, but it seems to be easier to get people to come to Tampa than it does to come visit us in our sunny Chicago office. Now, that's easy in the summertime, not so much in the winter.
Yeah. No, if you turn down an offer to go to Chicago during spring in through the fall, you're an idiot. I love Chicago. It's awesome.
It is beautiful. Have you been to our Loop facility?
I have not. I've not been to your facility up there, but I have done a lot of business in Chicago and been in Chicago quite often. Love it.
When I'm there next, Mike, you gotta join me, because the cool thing is the building that we're in, the Board of Trade building, is I didn't know this till somebody told me is kind of the front scene of where like all the Batman movies are filmed. It's kind of like Gotham.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So whenever there's a press conference in a Batman movie, it's usually on the steps of the Board of Trade building right in front of that. So it's it's a very cool looking building.
Well, was that Andy Burke's influence getting you guys over their Board of Trade? Wasn't he a Merc? He was in the Merc for a while, wasn't he?
Probably.
I think he was.
Influenced a lot of everything, including me, since he is my boss. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised. But
should we just make fun of Andy for the next 15, 20 minutes?
Oh, we really could. We really could.
It would be easy. I just don't know if we should.
I'm close to retirement age, so I just have to see how many years I got left. Andy, will you be able to forgive me for this if we go down the road? No, I will tell you, I've worked I've been here at BlueGrace for probably about 10 years.
Yeah.
And I started working for Andy. I don't want to get sappy or anything, but I started working for Andy in 2020, right after COVID. And I had some health things I dealt with. I also had a car accident, and Andy might be the single most knowledgeable person about every single thing in the world that has anything to do with health. So if you ever have anything that you need to cure, fix, or work on ailments on, he has a solution, and he's usually right. So for all the places that I might poke fun at Andy, and he's one of my closest friends and my boss, he's been a great blessing to me in that area of my life. So I have to say I truly appreciate it. So
yeah, he is. But
so now don't fire me, Andy, because now we get started.
Now we start making fun of the fact that he wears armor every time he goes skiing now, because he always comes back with a broken clavicle or something. I don't know.
I've said Andy will live to be 150 years old, or he'll get hit by a car riding a scooter across an 8-lane highway. One or the other.
One or the other is going to happen.
Something along those lines, or he'll fall off the cliff of a snowbank and some mountain you're not supposed to be on that looked pretty cool from the picture, and he will absolutely do it. But no, he's definitely a young at heart thrill seeker. Of course, he's a little bit younger than I am anyway, but he's a thrill seeker.
You can't really talk about your sports choices. Did you not used to spar Mike Tyson?
I've sparred everybody at one time or another.
I just can't imagine that being an intelligent decision.
I am a retired, very mediocre fighter. I always say that I'm the Bo Jackson of worthless, underpaid sports, and that I was a competitive powerlifter, volleyball player, and boxer. And that the volleyball side of it, actually, I'm only 5'10", but my doubles partner was my best man when I got married.
How does those three sports do not go together?
So unrelated, and it makes me feel so selfish, because all those things, I feel like I'm a team guy, but those seem to all be things that you pretty much go do by yourself. Except for the volleyball, I did wind up, after a decent doubles career, I did wind up coaching for 30 years. So I had the pleasure of coaching my own daughter and a bunch of other folks' daughters, and watching her get all the way through college, be a very good college volleyball player, and probably better than me. So I tied those three sports together, Mike, so I could make sure that at this point in my life, I have worthless shoulders, worthless back, worthless neck. And so I just get up, rub some dirt on it, and keep moving. So
I have a friend whose son is in, I think he's in powerlifting, right, at Middle Tennessee State. But there's one is like a sanctioned sport and one isn't, right? There's like two different things. Is powerlifting, is that like in the Olympics powerlifting? Because then there's like
Olympics is weightlifting, which is clean and jerk and snatch.
Right. So powerlifting isn't necessarily, that's not that. That's bench and other stuff.
Squat, deadlift.
Right. Okay. Right. So, they're different. Yeah, they're different. Right.
So I was very proud before I finished my powerlifting career to get a 2,000 pound total, which means you add the three lifts up and you get 2,000 pounds. So one time before I decided to be middle. That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
Before I decided to be pudgy and upper middle aged, I was a strong little dude when I was.
So the more you squat, do you get shorter? The stronger you.
I think you did. I think I started at about 6'8", and now I'm 5'10", so maybe. And I also noticed that makes me more gravitationally challenged at this point in my life than I otherwise might be. But
so your vertical leap's like 1.5 inches right now.
Yeah, my vertical leap is negative. I squat and then I stay down. I don't actually achieve any air underneath my feet at this point of my life. But
yeah,
it's funny that you say that, because I had an X-ray of my spine. And L4 and L5 that, I guess they're supposed to look something like, that. Mine looked like a sandwich. They're like really, really wide and squished. And so I'm sure that had I let myself grow to a full-size adult, I might have been 5'11" or 6 feet, but 5'10" is the limit to what that little sandwich of disc will allow me to be.
That's it. So so I did a lot of squats, but a lot of power thrusts and a lot of like snatch and clean and jerk and stuff for football. Right, I was outside linebacker for football. Get that explosive pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it has given me, now it's like sciatic nerve issues. Right, I've got to get treatment. So you have that as well, eh?
I have. Yeah, I have.
Because of the compression of your lower body, your lower back discs, right?
Yeah, they got to go somewhere, right? Those nerves have to be able to move somewhere. And I did have I think I was saying earlier, I had a car accident in 2020, and I herniated 7 discs, ruptured 7 discs.
That's not
And I'm
good.
too dumb to have surgery on that. So I just, rub some dirt on it, put some ice packs on it, take some ibuprofen and move
Right.
on.
We are going to do
So
up downs until Brian is no
yeah,
longer bloody.
you got it. Yeah. That's just, so I, I will say I kind of gave in to letting myself get kind of out of shape and just continue to eat the same way I did when I was doing all those other things when I was younger and
Yeah.
not doing any of those things that I did. And I got super out of shape, but I did about a year and a half ago. I decided my blood pressure was about 3 million over 2 million. And I said, well, that's not good. And
No.
so I started eating a little better and got myself back in the gym. So now I'm a meathead again and I enjoy it. And I lost about 100 pounds, which
So
is
are you lifting now
shocking.
more, or are you doing more like aerobic type of
I,
stuff?
I hate to use the word aerobics. It makes me feel like a wimp, but I do a lot of sports cardio. I hate cardio with a passion. I like hitting the heavy bag. I'll do when my joints aren't killing me. I'll do 15 rounds on the heavy bag, which
Oh, I
is a
love
great
the heavy
cardio
bag. I
workout.
do it. I do it like 3 times a week. The heavy bag.
Yeah,
It's
it's awesome.
fantastic.
It's a
Yeah.
great workout. I lift weights. I have you know maybe four weightlifting workouts a week, and then I'll either do racquetball. We joked about pickleball, but I will go play pickleball with my son-in-law. So,
Yeah.
well, he and I will go play. And I play singles. I don't play doubles. I don't. People that play doubles confuse me. It seems like just an awful lot going on. So I just stay back and play singles. So I'll either play pickleball, racquetball, or basketball, or something like that, and let that be my cardio. And then if I don't do that, then I have to give in and do actual cardio, which I hate, which I'll go do elliptical or some of that crap.
It's boring as hell. I hate that
Boring,
stuff.
boring,
Yeah.
can't
No.
stand it.
I don't do it. I do my aerobic days are really speed bag, heavy bag, that type of stuff.
I like it. I like it. So, we've done a really good job, and I'm super happy about us circling around to logistics. So
Well,
maybe we can,
I steered you away from it. You wanted to go there. And I was like, I thought I
it's
had
funny.
you distracted for the whole time. Dang.
You did, but somehow I was consolidating sports and made me think of consolidating freight, and then I was starting to put some business reporting together on it. No, I'm with you. It's interesting, Mike. When I do my podcast, I I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. I really am so sick of talking about logistics. It is so important and so necessary, and the conversations need to happen. But you sit in these great discussions with folks and you start wanting to know how they're wired, and that's usually what I want to understand a little bit about who those folks are that you're talking to.
100%. I mean, the personality behind it is, in my eyes, is much more important. And I think you glean. You could say the same information as somebody else does, and I will get, and you will convey a different meaning because of your backgrounds and where you come from, right?
For sure,
Like
absolutely.
how you utilize AI, how you don't utilize AI. Is it real? Isn't it real? What is transparency? What isn't transparency? And they may both be truths, but you get a lot more information if you understand who Brian Blalock is or who Michael Vincent is before he said, right? 90%
100%.
of the time, I'm coming off the top ropes, slamming an idea and telling you how much of BS it is. That's my go to right away. It's
Yeah.
no, it's crap, and then let's start building it up and discussing what's real about it. That's usually my mo. I blow it up and then start over. That's kind of how I do
Turn
it.
it into non-crap. I like that.
And then build it up exactly like you know blockchain when it came out. It's like, oh, you want immutable bullshit data? How about AS400?
Yeah,
It's been
let's.
around for a long time. We don't need blockchain for that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And let's
Right.
get a room the size of my house and put some computers in it that you could probably occupy the amount of data on something about a tenth of the size of this now, and and
Exactly.
and do better with it. No,
So, what do you want to talk about logistics? What do you want to talk about? The current state of, are there tariffs? Aren't there tariffs? Are we going to die? Aren't we going to die? Are there going to be
No, I
empty
don't
shelves?
think
Aren't
we're
there going
going
to be
to
able?
die. I think that's the good news. And if I was to say one thing, and this is interesting because I'm sitting on the opposite side, Mike, than I usually do. Usually I'm sitting on your side, and so this is new territory for me to be the person that's supposed to say anything valuable. So here's the valuable thing I'll say: we're going to be okay, and no matter what happens, our job in this industry is to understand how to respond to whatever the new okay is, right?
Right.
So does
Right.
that mean tariffs have changed whether you position freight in one place or another? Maybe. Does that mean that you're going to do more nearshoring activity instead of offshoring activity? Maybe. Does that mean your supply chain becomes domestic supply chain? Are orders getting smaller when your customers get more concerned about buying habits? Sometimes. Do you position freight earlier to get ahead of certain things? The answer to all those things is always going to be yes. And so the most, to me, ethical way that you can deal with any of it is tell the truth, be flexible, and have enough skills in enough areas so that regardless of how you have to manage complexity, you can actually pull it off, right?
Yeah.
So that's the goal, is start by measuring it and know what you can do and what you can't do. And I will say, for us here, I think one of the most valuable things I see in our company is the ability to say no. Measure supply chain, figure it out, see if you fit into it. If you don't fit into it, give somebody great information that lets them go find the right solution. If you do fit into it, then you've earned the right to be in that conversation, see if you can come up with a solution. I think that's my logistics answer to everything is measure it first.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And I think if you have the flexibility or the bandwidth intelligence to flip between different modes of transportation, it lends itself to exactly what you're saying. That's part of the intelligence that you have to have and the visibility that you have to have, right? Because when you start talking about times now, if shipments start getting smaller, you've got to understand or have a partner that understands LTL, because that's where it's going to go, right?
100%.
And LTL is. It's interesting how the LTL and the truckload markets interact with each other, right? There's this, I don't want to say there's a cause and effect. There's other things that are the cause and then the impacts, and you can gauge where we're at in certain cycles and how strong cycles are by the reactions within those two different modes of transportation, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I had a friend call me in it was the mid 2000 teens. Right, we had record rains, et cetera. Came back to California. Remember, we had the drought and produce season. Everything sucked, and then like the next year, it was like tremendous, and it was early because of the rains, right?
Yeah.
And they called me and said, "Look, we're blowing up as LTL stuff. We're blowing up with freight, and we don't understand why. It's not profitable." And he called me, and I explained to him, because your volume spot market contracts are going to tank you. You're gone.
Yeah.
You have to understand that, because as an LTL pricing analyst, you have to understand those pressures, because those are there to fill space, to pay fuel, to do that type of stuff, right? But when you have $5,000 for a truckload to go from Atlanta to Dallas, because produce season is blown up and you can't use the capacity of those reefers anymore, et cetera. They're built up. People are breaking those into volume spot market and putting them on yellow. Well, not yellow anymore.
Not anymore.
That was a joke. That was my joke for the day, folks.
We still might be looking for that freight. I'm still got a claim out on that.
But you understand what I'm saying. You got to have somebody who understands what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that bandwidth, you need a partner that does. And that's what we're looking at right now, right? I mean, we're in that same flexibility mode right now.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. And I think that what everyone is realizing that they have to do is they have to ignore mode. They have to ignore any preconceptions they have. And they have to start looking at from the order level of whatever it is they're doing. What are your customer demands right now? You have to look from there out, and then you figure out the mode. Right? Why don't we make something make sense? Maybe some of this is truckload. Maybe some of this are milk runs. Maybe some of this is LTL. Some of it may even still belong in small pack. But if you still try to create the orders in the way that you've always created them, and maybe demand has gone through the roof or gone through the floor, either way, you need to be able to respond to that. And where we're probably seeing, in our business, more folks raising their hands saying, "Yeah, I'm interested in having a discussion with you," is because they can't be so volatilely flexible. I think I just created a new term there.
That was pretty good.
That's pretty good. I'm thinking I'm going to go right
hurt?
down.
Do you want to rest? You want to rest for a minute?
I might need to breathe for a minute. So that they, in their own companies, they can't be that overly responsive to those circumstances. that they hire more, do more. They've got to reach out to someone who's already positioned to be able to scale up or scale down for them. And so that's where we get into maybe some conversations we didn't get into before. Maybe it's a shipper who's grown more than they thought they should or shrunk more than they wish they would, right? So we're looking at either our orders got smaller and we don't know how to go from truckload to LTL, right? We better have a strategy and contracts in place and all the things that we need to do to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Or, we're so in the bucket now that maybe we need to do a study to figure out, is our freight sitting in the right locations before we ship it? Are we unable to meet customer demand because all of a sudden I get an order in that needs to be there tomorrow and it's 4 days away by truck, right? How do we accommodate these things? How do we help a customer plan and develop a strategy around being successful regardless of what the conditions are on the ground? So that's, to me, that's where a lot of the, whatever kind of partner you work with, whether it's BlueGrace where I work or whether it's anywhere else, make sure the partner knows how to be flexible. And I think we've kind of dug into that niche of figuring out where, somebody's always going to service the $50 million shipper, right?
Right.
There's always going to be a home for that company. What about the company that's, 100,000 to 10 million? I mean, are they getting the attention? Are they getting the resources that they need? Are they able to scale and path and grow in a way that they can be successful? Maybe not. Let's figure that out. Let's measure it and see. And I think that's where we like to start that discussion, is figuring out if it works for both of us and figuring out what we need to do about it.
Yeah. And it's important for them to reach out to and have that partner, that level of people, because the things that we're talking about and the influences that we're talking about, our freight is not impacted by internal forces as much as it is external forces, because we import most stuff, right? There's not that much built in the United States, and that which has components from outside or raw materials from outside the U.S. coming in, right? So if you're an expert in domestic transportation or domestic logistics, that's not good enough anymore, right? You've got to understand what the impacts are across the globe. What has been, or what have been, the results in reality and real impacts from nearshoring or friendshoring? What happened there? Because there was different trade happening. Cambodia became the Christmas light production capital of the world overnight.
Right? Absolutely.
Sure it did. But you understand what I'm saying. And right now we've got this fluctuation. Like we just had, as we're talking just a couple of hours ago, the UK and the US, boom, they did their trade deal, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to spark others to start falling in line, right? I mean, there's an order to them.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that there's a lot that are already signed, but they got to come out in specific sequences, right? China cannot be the first one announced. It can't.
I think that's probably true. Yeah.
If you understand the intentions of what's going on, that's not. If they came up and said, "Yep, we'll do the deal right now," it was no, let's sign that in 3 or 4 months. We got it some other. Anyways. So you need somebody who understands that type of stuff, because what you're talking about, you've got to be able to plan for what might happen, and have somebody out there that has the intelligence to react for you. And the smaller you are as a shipper, theoretically, and probably true to in most cases, your bandwidth, whether you're intelligent enough to understand it, doesn't matter. Your bandwidth to absorb it and make action is limited because you don't have the resources.
Yeah, 100%.
So you need a partner that has those resources to be able to look at that and do it.
And you may be somebody who understands it flawlessly. You might
right,
be
but I'm just saying, you don't have your CEO,
team.
your HR, your ops, your everything. You can't do all that stuff. So you got to rely on somebody else.
And it's impossible for you to have all of the relationships to make sure, whether it's
exactly
knowing which port to come into, who can help with the drayage from that, who can help with repackaging of goods, who can help with determining where the placement of the freight should be, who has the relationships to give you somewhere to place the freight. If you're doing, whether it's a regional pool distribution, whatever it happens to be, somebody has to have relationships at the other end of that pool, right?
That's right.
We've got to have somewhere to place the freight in order to make this new plan hold up. So those relationships are critical, and somebody sharing those relationships with you is also critical. And I think the biggest part of anything, and we said it when we kind of first started switching from the fun part of the conversation to the
actually,
for nerds like us, it's still a little fun, right?
This is the fun part for me. This is the nerding out part of it that I love. It's the other part that I try.
As a fellow nerd, I appreciate that you and I can both understand this while everybody else mutes the headphones for 5 to 10 minutes. We'll just move our lips randomly and tell them you can come back in now. We're done with that part. But no, I think it's measuring everything to figure out the parts of it that need to be changed, that need to be viewed, need to be looked at. I think someone doing an honest assessment for you is the first part of any corrective action, and that's we're investing a lot in business and non-business. We're investing in companies so that we can at least set them in the right direction, set them in the right path, even if it's not us. Because there's going to be times that I don't think we're a fit based on what I see, but giving you the blueprint for how to go create a new logistics solution, new supply chain solution within your company is critical. So if you don't have that resource, go get that resource. I know a guy. Feel free to reach out. We'll help you with that. But
yeah, I know the guy.
You know the.
I know the same guy. I know the same guy.
Same dude. Yeah, we're happy to help. Yeah, send it over right now. And if you fit, you fit. If you don't, we'll tell you don't. We'll tell you where to go. I don't mean that as literally as that sounded. We're not just going to tell you where to go. We'll tell you who to go to. How about that?
We'll tell you how to get there.
Tell you how to get there. That's even better. We'll tell you what truck to put it on to get it there. And we'll make sure that we set that shipment up for you correctly. But that's the world we're in right now, Mike. And I'm a hopeless optimist. I think a little bit of what you just said, which is a lot's already been done or being done. And this isn't a geopolitical statement. Our statement will always be, whatever you do, we have to do something about it, right? Yep. We've got to be able to be responsive to that. I just happen to think that we are resilient folks, and that as long as the economy continues to allow people to buy and sell and do the things we do, we're going to find a way through whatever direction the freight comes from.
Wow. Okay. Inspiring words. Are you running for office there in Sun City?
I am, and I just read it right off of my AI-inspired notebook that I have in front of me. I believe it to the bottom of my heart. I think we're going to pull through. We're going to be fine. And I'm still going to buy something today. I'm still going to eat dinner tomorrow. We're still going to have groceries. Those things are still going to happen. They still have to move on a truck. So let's figure out how to do that as successfully as we can. And, hopefully if you do it with someone like Mike or myself, we'll have a little fun while we do it. So,
we're definitely going to have some fun or
without question, or
absolutely.
We can do that. And we can bring you in at the end, and it's going to be okay. So, Mike, I'm going to do this with you because I have to, because I've done this multiple times in the last couple of weeks and some conversations I've had. It's kind of
this in my contract. Is this?
This is, we're inking it down right now. Sign bonus, 10-year guarantee. Oh, wait a minute, that was for somebody else in a better spot.
Yeah.
So, in the last couple of discussions I've had with some of our folks, we've talked about the summertime shipping season, all the different stuff that happens based on produce season, all the different spikes and valleys and peaks. But the most important thing is your summertime song list. So I'm going to put you on the spot, and I want you to. You can take a second if you need. I want to have your top 3 summertime tunes.
The actual songs.
The songs. Top 3 summertime songs. And I promise not to hum the Jeopardy tune in the background as you think through these. You can go old school, you can go new school.
My playlist goes to right to reggae. It goes for summertime.
I like it.
And it will, number 1 will be the Reverend Jimmy Cliff. Harder they come, the bigger they come, the harder they fall.
I like it.
And then I guess it'll stay there. I like his tune, but I like Marley's version of it better, Steppin' Razor. And then really, anything from like Uprising or any or Yellowbeard or Steel Breeze or anybody.
You are a reggae.
Oh yeah, no, I go straight up reggae. I got my reggae bracelet on. Yeah, no, I got my Marley poster right here. But yeah, summertime by the pool on a Saturday after I've got my stuff done, it's going reggae.
What's
the first one is going to be Jimmy Cliff right away. It's going to be Jimmy Cliff.
Always. Yeah, I like. All right, so you did that too well. So I'm going to have to throw you a curve.
Oh, crap. All right, I got to embarrass myself to get out of this. Is that what
you really do? Really, this is a Brian takeover of your podcast. And tomorrow you're getting in the ring with I don't know. We'll put you in the ring with Andy, whoever has to be. Let's get your walk up song as you're walking in the ring for you and Andy to duke it out.
For me and Andy to duke it.
You mean give me a tougher opponent?
Culture Club. Do you really want to hurt me?
I think you did just hurt me on that. I got a cramp in my chest. That's good. That's good. I like it. It's funny. I had the pleasure of doing training for a bunch of new sales folks the other day, and I love that because I like seeing how either scared or excited or nervous or whatever folks are when they're entering the new world. And I'll go cheesy with you for a second here and tell you that
fantastic.
I have a very simple feeling about sales, and I think you and I are very kindred in how we look at things. Mike, is I think sales is the easiest job in the world. You start by making sure you show up somewhere that you actually believe in the company, and you do two things, right? You tell the truth, but you figure out who you're supposed to tell it to. Align yourself with the right opportunities and tell the truth. And I think that's what makes sales, to me, the easiest job in the world. And I've been very fortunate in my life to do that. I've spent 10 years here in something I believe in. And by the way, when I showed up, I don't know if I've ever told you the story, Mike, but this was supposed to be my welcome to Walmart, let me check your receipt job. I was going to work here for a couple of years and retire. And then I decided two things. Number one, I can't retire yet. Number two, my wife said, you can't retire yet. So I'm still here 10 years later, mostly because I've just found family inside the walls of the building and through the other parts of it. And I wouldn't change a thing. So,
well, I'll tell you what, as on the outside, I've been a customer of BlueGrace, and I've been a partner service provider of BlueGrace, and we've partnered together in brokerage, et cetera, at others and through other things. And I've Andy and Bobby and Eric and Jason and all of them, I've nothing but respect and love the place. Love to come
Great
down
team.
and visit. Love the culture. It is a fantastic, and that's all the smoke I'm going to blow for that one.
That's all $20 a page is going to get me.
That's all the $20 is going to get you, bro. That's it, bro. You don't be more for that. Overtime is
all right. Let me check the available balance so I can see if I can get in on that.
I might have to take back a few of those words.
Can you pull somebody else off the list? No, I couldn't agree with you more. And every name on that list is somebody that I actually think highly of and have spent tons of time with. And those are the reasons that you're doing the right thing. You're in the right place. And it's not even just that. It's the 21-year-old, 22-year-old excited to be doing something different. It's my buddy Austin, who doesn't work with us anymore, but I worked with for about 7 or 8 years, who became my racquetball partner when he thought I needed to lose a little weight. He got me in there and helped me get it's just there's just something about it that you find good sticky friends that love what they're doing, and it's easy to want to help them be more successful at it. Just like it's easy to want to help your partners be more successful when you find the right partnership on the customer side. There's customers that I can't stand the thought of them not being successful. So you do all the little things that you have to do to make sure that they are. And that's why the sales part of that to me is easy.
I love the sales part of it too, but let me say this, Rook, or let's go down this rabbit hole for just a minute, because the level that you and I have gotten to in the sales, right, really is relationship sales. And I think we've gotten there because I've always seen myself as relationship sales. I can't sell you. I can't sit in retail and sell you crap. That's not me. It's not going to happen. Sure. I'm going to sell you a partnership and that type of stuff. You're not going to come to me and buy a car. I tried that. I sucked at it because I'm not, hey, get into this car. You're going to love this. The best thing in the world, and never see you again. That's not me. That's not and you're not that type of person either. You're a relationship person. In the business that we're in, there's both types of people involved, right? There's those just hunter, and then there's the huggers and the true partners that happen. And in some businesses, you have both mixed, right? And some of them evolve. I've watched BlueGrace evolve from just hunter to actual real value add partnership sales.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's not an easy transition for a lot of companies to make because they'll go too far too fast and then they're done because it's a longer sales cycle. Right. But you don't have that churn rate to get 100%. Into it. Right. And you've got to have that upper management support and championship for that type of thing and realize that's what Chris Jamroz just went through for the last 6 years at Roadrunner. He came in and said, look, we're going to lose money for 4 years. Because you know what? We're a 100%. Joke. We're a joke, but here's how we change it, right? And did that buy-in. And not that BlueGrace had to do a turnaround or anything like that. I'm just using them as an example. No, it's a success story of one that was able to pivot and make that happen. Because you can't survive now as just a hunter. You just can't. We're too involved and too ingrained. And our wish for transparency has caused the necessity for the change, in my opinion.
I agree, and I think what you just described, I kind of described as growing up with your customer base, right?
Yeah.
You're when you start in any new business, you're all excited and you're hyper growth and you're wanting to get as many things in the funnel as you possibly can, and you sort of have to do that because it's like being on an Easter egg hunt. You gotta go pull up a lot of those eggs all around the yard before you find that prize egg, and so I think it took a while, and it does with any company, to go through enough of those thousands of boiled eggs that are laying around with paint on them that are regular Easter eggs to start getting to the prize eggs. And once you do, you really got to be able to take care of those because those are the ones that you have to hold on to. And I think that's true for almost any business that does things right, is you start with this massive funnel of let's look for things that work for us. And let's, while we're growing up and figuring out what we're good at, let's try some different things. And then once you silo yourself into, man, we are really good in this particular space. Now we start knowing that I'm not just going to have, I talk about in the sales process, people talk about prospecting. I usually consider that suspecting. You got a whole bunch of suspects. These are people that
I believe the court document said you were stalking.
Yeah, that's very true. You're all suspects. Yeah, I don't know if you're a good fit or not. But once you finally figure out who the actual prospects are inside of that giant funnel of suspects, that's when you better get serious about having something to say. And that's one thing I encourage salespeople to do. Don't pick up the phone if you don't have something to say. And by something to say, I don't mean be that guy that says, hey, I'd love to take a look at your supply chain and see if there's ways that we can find some inefficiency. No, understand and know something about that company. Know that you can find things that might make it better for them. And if you do, you should have a passion for making sure they listen to you because you believe you're going to make it better. And that's the way that I believe that you look for the right opportunity. You look for the things that are a fit where you know that you can make all the things that you're about to say come true for that company so that things are better for them. And I have a very simple business philosophy anyway, which is make it better. If you can't accomplish those 3 words, please don't email, pick up the phone, make a LinkedIn message, do any of those things. Make sure that you know that you can make it better before you even start having that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've built more relationships and stronger relationships and longer relationships and built more sales through telling customers, hey, look, I'm not your guy right now. I know somebody who is, and here they are. Now, if you need help over in these areas and that stuff, give me a ring. I've had many times it's not that person. It's somebody else that they go, dude, you got to talk to Vince. He's going to shoot you straight. He's going to shoot you straight. I've done that so many times.
That is such a great point and so true is you're not just having, unless you want your marketing team to have to spend $1 billion to find you business, everything that you touch is everything that they touch. And when you do it, Michael, the way that you do, then you have the opportunity. It might be, was that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever?
Yeah, that's right. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
So there's 6 degrees of something every time you have a conversation. It might be somebody who told somebody else about the great thing that you did when you were just in the process of analyzing someone's business to see if it fits. All of a sudden, they're in a conversation. They're at a chamber of commerce meeting. They're at a supply chain summit, whatever it happens to be, and they realize that exactly what that person needs is exactly what you do that wasn't really what they needed. And there you go. There's your 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, or we'll do 6 degrees of Mike Vincent, whichever works better.
100%, because you're going to pick up that phone, and we know this. You're going to have 99 no's before you got a yes, right?
Absolutely.
But those 99 no's could be networking, expanding, and you could take those 99 no's and have 1,000 connections if you handle those no's the right way.
I like
and
that.
If you're the one who says no, it's so much more powerful if it's done in a consultative way where you're honest about what's going on. You know, I've had that conversation. I said, look, I can do this for you, but you know what? These guys are better. You're going to really just be pissed off at me. So there were specific situations where I was trying to build areas of where we serviced, and a customer had a specific situation where I knew our competitor was better in that specific area. And I just said, hey, look, I can handle all these areas. Great. But this other part you want to give me or we're discussing, I suck at. If you need help, I know this other carrier. And they're like, oh, who's that? I said, well, I give it. Here you are. You give me this, you give me that. And we're great. And that's consultative.
That's gold. It almost, I think we just invented a cheesy new acronym for the no's that you get 99 out of 100 times. No could be for network optimization. You taking your network of folks that you've now touched correctly and done the right thing.
You are the cheese master.
We are cheesy optimizers. We are COs, cheesy optimizers.
I could see the steam coming off of your dome there, brother. You might want to go cool off a little bit.
I know I'm probably never going to be the CEO, but now I'm the CO. I'm the chief cheese optimizer. There
the cheese optimizer. That's the name of the show. Dude, you have way exceeded your payment. You only gave me $20 and I gave you 46 minutes, bro. That's way.
Man. All right. Well, since I've already gone to overtime and I can't afford your rates, Mike, I can't thank you enough for inviting me on. I enjoyed this more than you can know. This was a lot of fun. It's always a good time when you can talk to somebody who's funny, ethical, and shares the same vision for our industry.
Amen. I appreciate it, my brother. And nobody believed that shit. I lost a bet. I had to bring him on. That's what really happened. It's not true at all. But Thank you for tuning in to No Bull Logistics. Brian, I love you, brother. We'll talk again soon. Very, very soon.
Thank you.
Peace and love, everybody.